We take a look at the cleanup efforts after the fires in LA. Right now, thousands of trucks are going through the Palisades area and trying to clean up the debris. Our guest today is Elaine Culotti, who's a builder in Palisades. She's here to tell us where the cleanup efforts are at and what it will take to clean up this area properly and the impact on the surrounding communities. She also will tell us if Palisades will come back as it used to be.
Landfill, 6 million cubic yards. Guess what? It's closed. It never opened. $500 million of taxpayer money, and they never opened it. It's another resource that's not open.
I'm Siama Korami. Welcome to California Insider. Elaine, it's great to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We want to talk to you about the fires and the cleanup efforts. You're in Palisades and you're watching what's happening. Can you tell us what's happening right now with the cleanup?
Nothing right now. Nothing is happening right now. The Army Corps wrapped up their 6,800 opt-ins on June 1. So they had this situation where Army Corps had to come in and then get the word out to anyone who lost a home that if they opted in to the program, that Army Corps would clean their home up for them. It was a very specific scope of work. The envelope of the property, the 4 walls, and the foundation, and 6 inches of dirt.
What about the rest of the backyard and all?
No, just the stamp. And the foundation and 6 inches of dirt. And then they would put a baffle around it and put some stuff to grow and keep it dry. And so that was about 6,800 people opted in. And that was pretty much that number around March 31st. Maybe it grew a little bit after March 31st. And that was when the MATOC was up. So in big construction and emergency response contracts and things like that, especially with FEMA, they have contracts out there called MATOCs or SATOCs, which are basically mandatory award contracts. So those contracts they're task driven. So they go to like ECC, who's a management company, or Army Corps, who's a cleanup, gonna put people in the field, or security paving. These are some of the contracts that Clark, whatever, they're up there. And that MATOC is from the Biden administration because this all happened in early January. And Kristi Noem, who's in charge of FEMA, wasn't even in office yet. So this MATOC gets executed and all of these contractors show up. And then they spread the word through the mayor's office. Go and get your house cleaned up. And then 6,800 people sign up from all of the fires.
Even the Eden fires.
Eden, everywhere. Okay. So it's a readiness group. So it's very similar to any military group. Like they come in, they load in, they have an agenda, and they have a schedule, and they have team leaders, and they have people behind them and trucks, and they just like execute. Very organized, very clean, very on time. Just like you would expect from the Army Corps. And National Guard is working in concert with them, and they are in a theater. This is theater. Real theater, just like you would if they were in a war. They are so tight, and they do such a good job. But they can only do the job for the people that opted in. Their job is not to take over for you. Their job is to help you if you need help. Give you a bottle of water, ask you what you need, and complete the task that's at hand. So March 31st, the MATOC expired. It was up because they renew them every so many years. They got an extension till April the 15th. More people opted in, but not thousands, just more. And they stayed a little bit longer, and they kept a little bit more of like teams together. But, there was a quote by the colonel that was running Army Corps of Engineers. I think he was on Adam Carolla, where he said, as the sun rises on June the 1st, we are out of here any minute, They don't mess around. That's how they operate, and they did. So the stragglers that were left behind doing final cleanup. But they did not, by any means, clean it all up because not everybody wanted it cleaned up. You had to forfeit your debris removal insurance, number one, and you weren't sure if you even had insurance, or was it enough insurance, or was it too much insurance? So there were quite a few people that were resident, scared, just didn't want to.
You had to give up the insurance. So the insurance would cover it or?
Correct. So the debris removal insurance was part of the opt-in. If you opted in, your debris removal insurance, if you had any, would go toward that cleanup.
And if you were not happy with the cleanup, then that's it, your insurance.
Mock sneaks, yeah. Or if it wasn't all of it. Or if it was, let's say it wasn't all of it, then you would just have to figure out the rest of it.
So some people didn't sign up. Then what happened next?
So they cleaned up everything that they could, and then other people started working on doing their cleanup, whether it was through private contractors or doing it on their own or whatever. But what came to pass really quickly for me was that it was difficult for private contractors to get what's called a haul route in the building department. It's provided by the grading department. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Which direction will you be taking the debris or your dirt? It's called a haul route or a hauling route, and you get a haul route hearing, and you go and you petition for however many trucks, thousands of trucks, whatever trucks, to go from point A to point B, and then you get permission to do that from the state to go on those roads and to pick up the debris, put it in the truck, drive to the dump it in the dump, come back, repeat. 10,000 trucks or whatever. So I knew pretty surely that the Army Corps had removed about 250,000 trucks. And they were doing it in local landfill. The reason they were doing it in local landfill is because that was offered to us pretty quickly. And I've been told to correct this, so you can fact check me if you like. But Karen Bass found herself in a tight spot when Donald Trump arrived. They were all at this meeting. And she, in an effort to expedite things, made some promises at that table. I think Trump wanted voter ID and turn the water back on. Now, neither one of those are bad ideas. Turning the water back on is a little complicated, but voter ID, I think, is pretty important. And there was a lot of yes, yes, yes. We'll be ready in 5 days. We're going to start, and we're going to make this happen. And one of the things that happened was to remove some of the restrictions for toxicities and contaminants in the debris that was going into local landfill. There's a lot of people that are going to say that's not true, but it's not just in writing, it's also in the ether, and people have talked about it. So just to rest everybody.
So to allow these toxic material to go to local landfills.
Yes. Let's just go ahead and it'll be faster. Let's expedite, let's get this done. I made all these promises, we need to go. And you could say, okay, it's not true. It doesn't matter if you put it out there because somebody in Calabasas is saying, hey, I'm going to go to sleep tonight with my kids and I don't know if it's true. And I don't want to worry about it. And I don't want my real estate impacted by that. And I don't want my kids' health impacted by that. So it's like, it becomes a thing where if it's not true, then prove it because you said it. So, and now you've got all these lawsuits. So in short order, most of the big landfills got upset. And because their citizens did. The mayor of Azusa was famous for going on the news. He goes, well, I found out about it when you did. He found out that they were dumping in Azusa when he was from Channel 5 News. So it's not like they went out and they went and talked to these communities and they sat down. And then there was a big ruckus and they went in front of the Board of Supervisors. And they made this, quote unquote, win at the Board of Supervisors. Well, they didn't win anything. What they got was the Board of Supervisors agreed to, instead of allow them to do, I don't know, however many dumps a day, they got double that. They were allowed to do more dumps per day, which means that the Army Corps could get more stuff out of there faster by loading in more trucks. Not more time and not more volume, just more trucks per day, which was important because remember that their time clock is ticking. They're leaving. They're federally funded.
They're already gone right now, right?
Now. Mm-hmm. So this process goes on. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, I don't understand why we don't just put it on railroad. There's railroad everywhere. We could just truck it to a laydown yard. And everyone's like, oh, no, it's never going to happen. I can't get a call. I can't get anything. I call Union Pacific. Everybody's open. Anybody's like, yeah, if you have somebody, they connect me with a guy who does debris on rail from Northern California. Terrific guy, David. Go and look at different places, come up with a plan, write a white paper. I wrote a beautiful white paper, hauling route hearing, 12.4 miles, 34.4 miles, this much capacity. I find a dump, I do everything. I send it to Gavin Newsom's office. Nothing, crickets. I get somebody that is friends with him to deliver it to him, nothing, crickets. No traction. I have no choice because it's so important. I send it to Bobby Kennedy. And I say, I'm not getting any traction. Can you help me? Then it goes to Lee Zeldin's office. And Lee Zeldin mobilized immediately. Immediately. Right away. Top of EPA, top of Army Corps, everybody, read this, dig into it, see if it's viable, check it out. That's management. That's leadership. So we get everything organized. We discover that it's actually a great idea. There's a 6 million, I can't even say it. There's a 6 million cubic yard, 6 million cubic yards landfill located over by the border in Imperial and Mesquite, up by Glamis in San Diego, with its rail served directly to Puente Hills. It has 7 miles of custom rail. Puente Hills is hundreds of acres. It's a laydown yard for rail. It's 12.4 miles from Altadena. It's 34.4 miles from the Palisades Malibu fire. All highway, easy. Guess what? It's closed. It never opened. $500 million of taxpayer money, and they never opened it. It's not open. It's another resource that's not open. And the question is, can you get it open fast enough? Can you open it? Well, we could RFP it. That means there's like a request for proposal. We could sell it to somebody maybe. But the process of that is so time consuming. Even though the tenant, they rented it to a company, would move, it's the process of like getting them out and getting trucks in there. And so I'm literally diligently making phone calls, trying to figure out how it can be done. I had a huge meeting, and still the whole time, nothing from Gavin Newsom's office.
How much of this debris has been removed so far?
I would say we're about 50% removed.
And is it already filling up the landfills in these neighboring cities?
I would say probably some more than others, but it's not even about that. It's just not the right kind of debris to put in those landfills, and those landfills are for those cities. Because our California Sands District, which is basically Los Angeles Sands District, Sanitation District, is like, I think they have 80 offices throughout the United States with dumps, and they do our trash disposal. They're all of your trash that gets picked up every day, and they're really good at it. They're very good at it. And they go to dumps and waste management dumps, and they charge for anyone who's in construction and dumping, and it's a big business. It's the garbage business.
So is that debris going to the dumps?
Goes to local landfill.
And what's the impact of that? Is there toxicity or?
Hard to say, but it was said that there is, and there's at least 5 lawsuits now pending against the City of Los Angeles and the mayor's office, and those lawsuits are making very astronomical claims that could eclipse the cost of the removal. And by the way, who cares? Why would you take it to someone's local landfill if you could take it somewhere else? The only reason is money. It's just more money.
Does it cost more to put them in?
Yeah. It costs more to throw your trash away the right way. It always does. Recycling is expensive. Toxic debris is expensive. It's expensive. But we have the facility for this kind of an emergency, and we're not operating it. It's just another resource we're not operating. It's astonishing to me.
And the impact, right now they're getting trucked from these areas, like the Altadena area and Palisades, to these cities.
To Calabasas and Silmar and Simi Valley and Azusa.
Is there thousands of trucks every day?
Thousands of trucks. There's probably 1 million trucks of debris if you add all the fires together. And people don't want to say that out loud. There's 1 million, everybody. It's a very big fire. There's still trees and dirt and metal and outbuildings and buildings that weren't touched, and commercial buildings and parking garages. It's a lot of stuff. And all the streets are ruined. You ruin the streets. It takes 6 hours to go, for one truck to go to Calabasas and come back is a 6-hour turnaround of surface streets, highways and freeways, wheels just turning over those streets with no money to repair them.
As you said, half of this is left, right? Because
Correct.
People are using private contractors. How long do you think it will take for that to be done?
If we don't come up with a good haul route to a way to really move volume and allow private contractors to actually remove debris quickly, it could take years. If we do it right away, we could do it in, same amount of times it's taken to do this, 6 months. But remember, we lose all of the readiness, we lose all the organization, we lose the really important part of all of it, and that's Army Corps, National Guard, federal funding. We lose that.
How will we lose that? Is it timing?
They're gone. We'd have to try to figure out how to manage independent contractors, and and they're wily. Like they bid on a job. It's very different than when you work for the Army Corps. You're going to do the right job because you're being paid by someone else to do the right job. It's completely different if you're an independent contractor and you've been tasked with cleaning someone's house up for $25,000. If you're going to spend $25,000 dumping, you're going to go out of business after 2 houses. So it's very important that we manage where the debris goes. It becomes even more important now where the debris goes than it was before.
Each individual company needs to get permission for how much trucking they will do?
That is correct. Every contractor has to have permission to clean up debris and take it somewhere and dump it.
Does it slow down the process because there's a lot of different homes, right?
Correct. And if it's not all together and everyone didn't opt in, you basically have everybody operating independently. And most of the people that need homes cleaned up, a lot of homes are cleaned up. Commercial businesses are obviously going to be a little bit different, but many of these people have never built a home. I would say 20 to 25% of the people in the Pacific Palisades are retired or not, they're older. And it's been at least 2 years since Chubb and Lloyd's of London and Cincinnati and some of the big insurance companies pulled out of the Palisades. So there's a lot of California Fair Plan. And California Fair Plan debris cleanup program is only $25,000. It's a lot, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
What about the parts that Army Corps cleaned? Was that enough, or is there more to be removed?
It depends on the structure. So they had phase 1 and phase 2. So on a simple lot, that's a whole nother subject. So I would say a lot is not a lot is not a lot. Okay, so for example, if you have a single family house on a 7,500 square foot lot, that footprint's probably, maybe it's 3,000 square feet in the Palisades if it's a big new home, but they're usually about 1,500 square feet. So burned to the ground, right? So you don't have that much to remove on that lot. But if there's a lot over a little ways that's 2 acres and has 20,000 square feet on it and a guest house and a pool house and that's another story. That's a completely different thing, but it's still called a lot. And what about all the hillside lots with the big piles sticking out of the ground that just tear down to the ocean and the debris just blowing off of it into the ocean? It's insane.
Is that not being cleaned up by the Army Corps, or?
If they opted in, yes. Yes.
But there's probably half that haven't opted in, right?
That's correct. About half haven't opted in.
And what about the rebuilding process? How's that going? So essentially the cleanup, you think it could take years if it's not done correctly, right?
The first question is, how's the rebuilding process? The first thing I think with building, because I built, I don't make my money farming. I wish I could. I would if I could. But I have to build so that I can keep my farm. But when I build something, my first thing I do, I get my permit and grade my lot, and my lot is
and you've built a lot of homes
clean,
there, right?
And I built a lot of homes, and it's got to be very clean. I like everything clean. And then I put up my fences so that I don't make a mess on somebody else's lot. And I set my hours so that we're not keeping people up. And I make sure that we can stage on the lot. We can get all the trucks on the lot. Because you don't want to be on the street, because if you're on the street, everybody's upset. There's lots of courtesy that goes into building properly. And I think the most common courtesy is that you're not building next to some burned out debris house that's completely trash that no one's going to clean up. And you start building your brand new home with your brand new wood and your brand new whatever, and there's all this toxicity and God knows what next door. You have to clean everything. You can't go scrub into surgery and then turn around and, go eat a hamburger. You scrub in, do the surgery, close up, and leave. And this place is not like that. This is like a hamburger joint in the surgical center. It's a mess. There's trash everywhere, and there's cleaned lots right next to each other. Now, if I go into that lot and start working, and then they come and clean that lot, debris goes everywhere. And I can make that case in point by, there's a really big, very expensive condominium complex located off of Sunset Boulevard and PCH, a place where people spend $3 to $5 million for a condominium. It's brand new, it's beautiful. And just behind it is an old condo building with 35 individual owners that burned. It was 4 stories. And for whatever reason, it did not get cleaned up. Maybe they couldn't all agree on opting in, who knows, but it did not get cleaned up. So that building 6 months later is completely empty because none of those high-paying homeowners want to move in until that's cleaned up. They don't want to go buy it. They don't want the toxicities in their homes. And this model, this problem is everywhere. That's why people don't want to move back into the Palisades, because they don't want to live next to it. And there's enough dirt and debris every day that it's almost impossible to live there right now.
So from what you're saying is, if only one lot doesn't get clean on the street, it could cause a lot of problems for that street.
That is
correct. It would
correct.
be almost impossible to come in.
That is 100% true. And by the way, if we hadn't had this fire and somewhere in your neighborhood a home burned down, and there was one home burned down but all the other homes were standing, okay, everybody would come to you and say, oh my God, we're so sorry you lost your home, and la la la, and buy you things and be there and support you, and you'd have a place to stay and all that. And when it came time to clean that house, you would tell all your neighbors that you were doing that. And they would know that that's the day that the house is going to get cleaned and there's going to be a lot of debris and a lot of trucks. Do you know, there'd be some level of compassion for that because it's one house. But this is not that. This is the Wild West. Everything is gone and everybody is each man for himself. It's very difficult. I had a situation where we had two homes that were not cleaned down below one of my other properties, and there's a landslide there. So the road was closed, and they were getting ready to tear up the upper road to fix problems there. And I was like, I stopped it. I literally called city council and the office, and I said, hey, you need to clean those two houses down there, go the back way, I'll get permission. But if you don't do that, if you don't get these two houses cleaned up, they will not get cleaned up until after the landslide is repaired, which could be a year. So please just stop for a second. Let's not go off half-cocked. Let's take a minute. And sure enough, they did it. They did the right thing. Tracy Parks and Army Corps and everybody, but they wanted to. See, Army Corps knew and they wanted to. ECC knew and they wanted to. But I couldn't get permission to change everything around without going through the mayor's office, which is, it's a dead zone. There's no one home. So you can't get things done, and you'll see the people advocate for themselves when they can't get things done.
Now this is a time when the Army Corps is gone, so now it's up to the individuals. Mm-hmm. And each individual that owns a parcel needs to do it, right?
That's correct.
This is going to slow things down significantly, right?
Sure it is. I mean, especially if you can't get permits or you can't get a haul route. You know, I mean, first of all, I just want to say this to anybody who's in construction. These burned out cities need their own building department, okay? Right away, rent a spot and move everybody in and move the computers and put Palisades Building and Safety Department, period. Stop with the downtown this and the desk this and go to these fast counters. Forget it. Just open up a building department right in the neighborhood. That way, people can go to the building department that don't have contractors. And they can talk to people and say, and you can have a contractors list, and you could have a help center, and you could have people in the field that know the field. And this would expedite everything.
There's only a small number of permits have been issued, right? A handful, right?
That's correct.
And why is that?
That's a good question. Well, first of all, the promise was that if you needed a permit right away to build your house, you were going to be able to walk into the building department and pull that exact same permit that your house had, plus or minus 10%, I think.
What you had built before.
Mm-hmm. You had to do it by June 1st, so that's passed. 2 reasons, I think, maybe 3 reasons. 2 reasons for sure. The number one reason is it takes a long time after you've lost everything to even get your feet back on the ground, to try to figure out what you want to do. Like right after, it's like stages of grief. Immediately, everyone's going to rebuild, Palisades strong, we're all together, you know, immediately. That's how people are after something happens. And then, like, the shock of it sets in, and you start to think about, like, you know, geez, I'm 70 years old, or I'm, you know, my kids aren't here anymore. I kept this house because I inherited it from my parents, whatever your reasons are. And so then you start to think, well, maybe I can do it, maybe I can't do it. Now you're vacillating, and another couple months goes by, and the cleanup is slow. It's fast in terms of what they've accomplished. I give kudos to Army Corps. I really do. I think FEMA did an amazing job. If anybody wants to talk trash about FEMA, I'm here to defend. I think they did a great job. But it doesn't matter when you're the person that has lost everything. You're like so overwhelmed. So now you've got people that are in month 3 and 4, and they're just trying to figure out if their insurance is going to be enough. Can they actually build? Will they get enough money back? And by the time 6 months rolls around, you've just decided you're going to sell your lot or you're going to build. So I think that it's just not enough time. That's the first thing.
Do you think a lot of people will rebuild, or do you think
No.
there will be...
I answer that question, no. I do not think everyone will rebuild. I think most people won't.
Do you think new people come into the neighborhood, or do you think it will take a long time for this?
No, I think
Palisades
it will
come back?
completely be repollinated very quickly with new money. Yeah.
People will buy the lots and they will build.
And they'll build different things, and they'll start a different life, and the Palisades will forever be like a version of what it was, but not the same.
Did you lose a lot of the homes that you built in the area?
No, I didn't. I've been building fire safe for a long time, but also I was just lucky. God was watching out for me. I was meant to solve problems, I guess, rather than solve my own problems. So I'm very lucky.
What do you recommend to those homeowners that have lost their home?
Everybody's different. I think if you're young and you have kids and you're displaced, I think there's no greater joy than building a home. And I think it's a very interesting lesson. I think it's a life lesson. I think everyone should embark on, being creative and doing something from beginning to end. And if you have the money to do that, and you love the Palisades, and I just think it's such an unbelievable experience that you will never know until you do it. And I've been on the side of watching customer after customer, client after client, whatever you want, embark on this process and build a home and see how happy and proud they are of what they've accomplished. It's a true accomplishment. So I encourage anybody to build a home, and I think that it's a learning experience. There's no right and wrong way to do it. Hopefully you have a good contractor, and try not to make too many changes, and you're gonna have this incredible experience. It's like an amazing thing. But I think if you're in the back part of your life and you are enjoying your grandkids and you're traveling a lot and you've maybe lost your spouse, or I don't know what your situation is, that it's a lot of work, and it's for the young, and it takes a lot of grit. And I think we've lost a lot of grit in California. We're kind of gritless. I think our last grit was John Wayne, maybe, I don't know. But grit is important when you're embarking on something like that. And it's a great thing for your kids, like to teach your kids. I raised all my kids in construction, I can remember Leo saying, "Mom, when are we gonna move? Like, we've been in this house too long." So it teaches them that the house that you live in is the house where your family is. It's your home, where your family is. And it teaches them about like hard work, watching everybody work all the time, and there's always something to do. So I am a big believer in it. I think that I like farming too, I think that we don't get our hands dirty enough and our feet on the ground enough in our society in California. And that's not everybody, but in the big cities, that's kind of the thing.
For people that you say they should rebuild, we have been hearing the permitting process and the construction is very difficult. Is it truly doable, or is it going to take a lot of hassle in LA?
Well, okay, so I've had good and bad experiences with the building department. It's all kinds of walks of life that work through the building department. But I want to remind everybody that it is the Department of Building and Safety, okay? They have a big job to do. Their job is to make sure what you're building is safe. And a lot of people forget that. It's the Department of Building and Safety. It's not the Department of Building. Their job is to make sure that your power is going to work and not burn your house down, that your plumbing isn't going to flood your home, that your roof isn't going to leak, that you're not on a neighbor's property. Setbacks. People don't understand that. That you have enough room in your bathroom to turn around if you should fall down. That it seems crazy, but these are things that people don't think about. There's a lot of nuances to building that make a building really safe. And those have become laws that contractors are supposed to follow. And there's a lot of cheating in the cheap building world because it's just very expensive to meet all the compliances. And we need to make building less expensive in California, but I don't think we need to make it less safe. So it's tricky.
If you like California Insider and the topics and the interviews we conduct, chances are you really like the Epoch Times newspaper. We are part of the editorial team of Epoch Times. This is not just a newspaper, it's a news platform with hundreds of articles a day. We interview different sides of stories on different topics. We cover state-level issues to national to international. We have a unique coverage on China as well and a lot of other topics that the mainstream media may not cover. We have a story in this week's edition about the tariffs and their impacts on the activity at the ports. Shippings and truckers are really feeling the impact of the tariffs at the ports. And our reporters are giving you a perspective on the ground of what's happening. Make sure to check out the newspaper. We have a special deal for you where you can get the digital or the print for $1 a week for the first month. Now let's go back to the interview. So for the people that have the lots that you mentioned, if they're older and they're traveling, and how do they sell their lots and get the best potential deals?
I mean, right now is really challenging because we are stuck with this ULA tax in Los Angeles. Now, not everybody is subject to it, but in LA, you are. In the city of LA, in the Palisades, you are. Not in Malibu, but if your home burned and your lot's worth $5 million, you're paying mansion tax on that thing, which is unbelievable to me.
So how much is that?
I think it's 4.3% maybe on 5 million. It's like 5.7% over 10 million. And unfortunately for a lot of people.
So even if your home burned down, this is something you have to pay?
Oh, it's such a money grab. It's the worst. Absolute worst. Absolute California at its finest. They put something on a ballot that says mansion tax that is not a mansion tax. It's a levy. It is a transactional tax. It is not a mansion tax. It is on hospital, low income. It does not matter. It is a transaction over 5 million X, over 10 million Y.
It doesn't matter what was the value before.
Correct.
If you lost your home, so essentially you have to still pay on the land. LA should actually remove this for, especially this kind of situations with the lots.
It should never have made it on the ballot. It never should be on the ballot because they put it on there deceitfully. They ran ads saying it was a mansion tax, first of all, which it is not. Secondly, the homeless situation clearly, no matter how much money we throw at it, will not be solved with money. We actually have to find a place, build the houses, and put them in there. And we need to divide people up, and we can't call everybody homeless. We have to work with them in categories, and we have to create places for them to live. And a tiny home, you can buy a tiny home almost anywhere in the state for under $200,000. A nice one, a really nice one. I know a guy in Oklahoma, they're $157,000, or 1,100 square feet. Nice. What happened to all the money? There's no homes. So you go out to the desert and you buy, we're selling government land. Put 1,000 homes and make a pilot project. Spend some, $10 million and build little tiny homes. Create jobs. What are we doing? And mansion tax is going to solve the problem.
Besides the mansion tax, if people have these lots, do you have any recommendations for them?
Well, I think that it's very important to hang on to your real estate if you can until the mansion tax shakes out. Because I think it's on its way out.
The value will go up. Because there's a lawsuit, right?
Right. And it changes it also changes the whole perspective of the seller, right? The seller can ask for more money for the lot, right? If what I'm seeing, and I have probably 10 lots in my head, where the lots are listed at $4,999,000 when they're really a $6 million lot.
Because they don't want to pay the mansion tax.
That's right. That's right. And that's a bummer.
And for whoever that buys that lot and builds, they have to pay tax again on it, right?
I think that for anybody buying in the Palisades, it's a buyer's market because that thing's going to go away and all those lots are going to go up incrementally before you so much as lay a brick. Yeah. Also, there's a momentum too. I think taxes are one thing, but we also, are living in a, looming high interest market that has really also taken its toll on the real estate market. I think the number one catalyst in Los Angeles for a depreciation in real estate, though, is mansion tax. Real estate in California is it's like our Wall Street in New York, right? It's important. And when you handicap one of the most luxurious places to live on the globe with this kind of tax, you impact real estate across California. It's across California because it sends a message that we can't be trusted, that you can make an investment here in real estate and we might just find a way to get our hands into your pocket. And that stops people from wanting to invest. It's also the problem with business in California. You've got to be reliable. You have to make rules and stick to them. You can't constantly be trying to figure out how to take money from the people that are paying the most in taxes. It's just, if you do that, then nobody that wants to pay a lot of taxes will come here and you eat yourself. It's just it's carnivorous. It's like we're carnivores. We can't do that.
Now, do you think LA has changed after the fires? You've been there, you've been working for many years, and you've seen what happened to Palisades.
I do. I think what's really interesting I'm in the Palisades all the time, and I've really taken an active step with this cleanup with Railroad, with Cal Sands District, or LA Sands District, the council's office. Tracy Parks is really trying, and she's a nice girl. But this is too big for any of these people to really get. And I think that what I have gleaned after all of this is that our ground zero blue check democratic society, I mean, the Pacific Palisades are all the people that put these people in office. I mean, we are the democratic kingdom in the Pacific Palisades, okay? And they are pretty let down by our current administration. I don't speak for everybody, but I speak for a lot of them. And 25,000 people are displaced that are going, hey, what's happening? And if there was ever a time to have new administration and new people run for office that are more conservative and more pro-business, especially small business, and more pro the California lifestyle, truly, like to really enjoy life, to tell a good joke, enjoy comedy, enjoy driving with your top down on your car, put gas in your car, have a big pool, jump in your pool in the sun, enjoy the weather, go for a hike, have a dog. These are things, people love California, like that's what it's for. Why are we trying to take all that away? And I think that for the first time, at least as long as I've lived here, which has been, I moved here in 1991. I am a native, I've been here longer than I've been alive. I love this place. I think for the first time, a lot of people will agree with me.
And do you think LA would come back after all these fires and then we had the riots?
Yeah, of course we're back. We're coming back. No, these people are important. The Pacific Palisades and Altadena, think about Altadena. I mean, that's like third generation black money. Those people are like wealthy black business people. 19%. That's the working class. Pasadena, working class. Glendale, working class. Altadena, working class. Eaton, working class. Palisades, working class. Malibu, working class. These people have a lot of money. They are not potted plants. There is no world that they're just going to sit back and let this roll over them. Not going to happen. That's why I think it's an opportunity for new management of our state. Because there was no water, and they still haven't repaired those reservoirs. Because they didn't trim the brush, and they were not good stewards of our forest. We pay for that. I get brush clearing notifications for every single lot I own. I have to go out there and clean the brush every single 6 months. Summer, it's coming, clean the brush. We're not potted plants. I've paid for these things. What are the tranches of property tax? Property tax is for a couple of things that are pretty important. Fire and police, schools, and our roads and infrastructure. Where's our roads and infrastructure? Palisades is falling apart. There's no money from property tax for that? No. Where's our fire and police? We've dismantled our police department. We don't respect our police. We have 100% taken the budget away from the fire department to allow them to be efficient and fight. And our school systems, first of all, there's not that many in our area that we can complain about because we have really good school systems in the Palisades. But if you take property tax overall through the state of California and you look at the school system overall, it's really a challenge to say it's a good school system. So we don't use our property tax anyway. And then you come up with mansion tax for homeless people after you blew through $28 billion and you don't know where it is. Yeah, I think it's time for a change. I think it's a reckoning, and I think that the fires are the catalyst of the reckoning, for sure.
Elaine Culotti, developer from Palisades, it was great to have you on California Insider.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let us know what you think of the cleanup efforts at Palisades. You can always email us at siamak@californiainsider.com or comment. We read all of your emails and comments. I'm Siamak Korami, and this is California Insider. We will see you next time.